morning from Melbourne. It actually took me a while to get hold of a technology legend to come in and join me in today's conversation at Fyber CFO Network. Henner Schliebs is the global head of marketing programs at SAP, which is one of the world's largest software companies that makes enterprise softwares to manage business operations and customer relationships. In addition to working at SAP as the global head, Henner is also a sought-after thought leader speaking at events like Sapphire at SAP, annual business conferences, marketing executive meeting, etc. And he has also been published in industry magazines like CFO Magazine, Forbes, FEI, Treasury and Risk, Accounting Today, CPA Practice, and lots of others, providing his insightful and visionary standpoints around modern finance processes. He also serves on multiple advisory boards in helping companies in their growth, including Fyber Consulting. His current home is Austin, in Texas, in the U.S. So thanks, Henner, for coming all the way from Texas. How are you today?
I am great, Muazzam. Thank you for your warm welcome and for the flowers within your welcome. I'm very well. How are you, Muazzam?
I'm great, excellent. It was a very different and unique feeling waking up 6 o'clock in the morning for this interview. So I'm very fresh, just kicking off my day with this conversation.
Nothing better than talking about modern finance on a Saturday morning, right?
On a Saturday morning, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So Henner, I'm going to kickstart the conversation with your career journey. Let us know how did your finance background culminated into SAP's global head of marketing program over the years?
Yeah, so I basically had a couple of different entry points into this, right? When I came fresh off college, I was in management consulting, right? Our unit was consulting network-based companies in Germany those days around business process optimization and related topics, right? And what I had figured out those days was that a lot of our clients were heavily limited through technology they were using, right? And also heavily limited to their old world thinking of the late 90s, right? Like, hey, we've established a process and this is the process per se. And if at all, we need to optimize this process, right? So the old thinking, I mean, was really based on not being creative enough to think about new processes, right? Only to do something because you always did it like that does not justify really continuing doing so, right? And we see a lot of examples these days where absolutely these processes as they have ever been are totally rethought right now, right? And this is when I said to myself, hey, I need to switch more into the technology area because, again, a lot of these processes were limited through the use of technology or the non-use of technology, right? Which brought me into the technology area where I was then hired at the first software company that I started with. And I was the implementer of financial management systems on top of ERP, right? Those days never heard of. Everything was managed from a finance perspective within ERP. And this relatively young company, a spin-off of PwC, by the way, those days, was really focusing on building better financial management systems on top of ERP systems, right? And the credo those days was purely speaking, you run your company on an ERP system. In Germany, of course, those days on SAP's ERP system, right? But you manage your company with more performance management oriented software solutions on top of your ERP system. Right? This was really based on on those days technology on relational databases, where you really artificially had to change the view between your operation and your management of your company, because technology would not allow anything that was merging those two, right? And my
Yeah.
initial focus was on shareholding management and financial consolidation, right? And as you can imagine, those days in Germany, getting into an SAP account and asking them to buy another stack of software on top of their holy ERP system. And those days, I was not employed by SAP, right? I was employed by another company, right? It was unheard of, right? I had so many discussions with the finance department those days. Why should they invest in something like that? And we have our processes defined, how we can make our consolidation, our financial consolidation in the individual entities, and then we have a sophisticated Excel-based and BI-based process, how we do our corporate financial closing process, if you will, right? And it was a lot of discussion those days already, enabling the finance departments in Germany to understand the reason why such a revolution has to happen, right? They were simply not yet ready to understand, I do need something on top of my ERP system, right? And those
Yeah.
days, it really went from financial consolidation into more sophisticated financial planning and analysis processes, which then ended up probably in the early 2000s with an integrated business planning. So not just the financial side, but really the whole business planning, which I added to my portfolio, right? And I had different roles between consulting during implementation, business consulting in regards to how to set up processes, totally independent of software those days, and later on switching more of a business focus, where I translated the new challenges they had, the new requirements they had, into the respective technology stacks of my employers that I had those days, right? It was really kind of a translator role between the business requirements and the technology capabilities those companies had in their stack those days. So this was how I really got deeply into the finance organizations of the world. By the way, I had a major in university on finance and marketing, but those days I completely left out the marketing component of my education, right? I dug deeply into the finance processes and the supporting technology, right?
Yeah.
And over the time, I switched more into a leadership focus, right? I was really trying to drive the agenda, and in the meantime, by the way, I've moved into a global role, and I was hired by SAP also, and we saw a very, very huge need in the market to educate more and more the leadership in our customers' finance organizations and in finance organizations overall, in terms of, hey, SAP and your ERP vendor in general is not just what you bought those days, right? Specifically to SAP, there was a huge uplift in our contribution to our customers' success that goes way beyond ERP systems, right? We relatively early on acquired some analytics companies, some companies that helped us with some advanced technologies around predictive analysis and the like, right? You might have read in the press that we acquired a couple of other departmental software companies around
Yeah.
HR and supply chain
Absolutely.
and marketing and the like, right? So all this connection of the new SAP, if you will, to how we can better serve you as a CFO, this was brand new to SAP, right? And I was one of the forerunners at SAP to really get us into the state of holistically talking to CFOs based on my vast experience and based on yeah, basically the ideas that I have gathered in my career through research, through many customer discussions and CFO discussions, into the state where we are today, right? Where I'm kind of a CFO advocate within our company. So really talking with our own GFA function around how to set up processes, how do we enable our regional and local and global CFOs better to steer the business, to not only define the corporate strategy of our company, but really how do we operate against this strategy, and how do we set up processes that relate to the strategy. So that's basically
Interesting to
my last 20 years or so.
Wow, that's an interesting career journey, and it's interesting to see also how the world of technology has evolved over a period of time, and so have your own career as well. Now, CFOs are expected to act as strategic business partners, measuring performance and taking on new responsibilities when it comes to the cutting edge technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I want to understand from you is that how has this changed the role of financial leadership in the last few years?
Oh.
And how has that technology transformed the financial management processes as well?
Yeah. No, great question, and feeding absolutely into my area of expertise, right? So as we all see, our roles as finance leaders is drastically evolving away from having pure financial responsibility of an organization, right? You mentioned the term strategic advisor. I will even go a level beyond that, in terms of not only advising, but also at the same time making sure this is happening, right? From
Mm-hmm.
a strategist to the steerer of an organization, right? Um, Simple example, we see, I think over the last 10 years or so, the roles of a COO of an organization has been diminished by more than 50%. I think it was a McKinsey study that came out maybe half year ago or so, right?
Is
Which
it just in the US or all across the world?
I think all across the world.
Wow,
And
interesting.
and the workload is not going away, right? The workload is landing on somebody's desk, and in my experience, this somebody is the CFO of an organization, right? We also see it in our own organization, where Luka Mucic for many years then was CFO and COO of our organization, right? Due to the drastic evolution SAP goes through, we have a new dedicated COO right now, but for many years in recent history, we had a combined CFO COO role in our organization, right? So this really making sure that all operational and commercial functions act according to the strategy that the CFO majorly defines is something relatively new, right? This is the insight to action nomenclature that we're putting out there, right? Making sure that, be it the head of HR, be it the head of sales, be it head of supply chain, all those additional functions in an organization have to act in a concerted fashion to really support the strategy that the board of an organization is setting up. And I think this is the big change that we're seeing, that the CFO is not just the strategic business partner, but is the insurance, if you will, for the company, that these strategies that have been set up are really followed through into every little finger of the organization. And that's the big
Absolutely.
change that we're seeing in the market right now. And of course, technology is enabling a CFO, right? Technology is not delivering this for the CFO, but technology is enabling the CFO, right? Take an example, a very simple example that we went through at SAP, right? So in order to improve our DSO numbers, what our global CFO Joel Bernstein did was a very, very easy thing only because he could. And I will go into the because he could later on, right? But what he did is he's compensating our sales teams, not in the moment when a customer, when you guys are signing an SAP contract. No, he's compensating our sales force in the minute you are paying what you're obligated to pay according to the contract, right? This helps us tremendously with improving DSOs in terms of course, the account executive will be on your toes to make sure that you pay as soon as possible, right? And in
Right.
order to enable our sales force to do so, our CFOs, our GFA function, if you will, of course, needs to be able to provide the account executive with a 360-degree view of you as a customer, right? The account executive
Mm-hmm.
needs to see any open positions we have with you, right? Needs to see any open pipeline position we have with you as a customer, needs to fully understand your journey with SAP, needs to understand probably sentiment in the market around you, right? Needs to understand alerts if you as a company had difficulties financially or on any SEC reporting or anything like that, right? If you're in the press and having difficulties with your customers or something like that, right? All these types of information are made available to our sales force and help them really have the discussion with you as our customers in order to motivate you somehow in a very, very positive way to pay us as early as possible, right? This includes
Absolutely. And I
also
think
early payment discounts and things like that, which dynamically are calculated on the fly for our sales force in order to really make sure we have the best offer for you as our customers and enable you as our customers, of course, at the same time also to pay as quickly and as seamlessly as possible, right?
absolutely right. And I think the key point here is, as you have mentioned, that the role of the CFO is more of strategic nature
Mm-hmm.
now than at any time earlier back in times. And I think technology is the main enabler here.
Oh, absolutely.
Without the use of technology-based tools, that role is just not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, but I always say this, that the oil has been the most precious commodity in the world in the past, but it's no more now. Data probably is the most important commodity in this world at this time and age, and technology just helps gauge the data and make use of it. All the data-driven decision making is only possible with the help of technology-based tools. So you're absolutely right. Now,
Absolutely. And
SAP is
just
known.
real quick to
Yep.
piggyback on that on that story, right? So oil and data is the same like the end product out of you make out of crude oil and information, right? So you have to still make use of data in order to transform the data so it makes sense to the person receiving the data, right? And this is exactly why finance is uniquely positioned to be the host of the data, right? I hate that term, but it's around for 10 years now. Big data, right? Everybody was talking about big
Yep.
data, big data, big data, right? But this is
That's
not
right.
a technological or an IT topic. This is a finance topic. Every single data point in an organization is running through the finance department, right? Every single data point is hitting at some point of time finance in an organization. But
Yep.
who's the number person in your organization? Who's the analyst? Who is per definition educated on make sense out of data, right? It's the finance professional, right? And
Right.
I think for the first time since a long time, finance professionals coming out of college can now eventually do what they are educated to do, right? Make use of data and help your organization to run better, right? And
All
not
right.
hit buttons, transact here and reconcile there, and all these redundant manual processes that had been necessary due to old technology, to old relational databases, right? To not modern platforms. And this is now all obsolete, right? Technology is not a limitation anymore. Technology is back to being a real enabler to new and more modern processes. And who else in an organization should lead your digital transformation other than the CFO? There is no second person to lead digital transformation in an organization. Absolutely no alternative, right?
Great. Now, SAP is known for investing in its research and developmental activities, and even now it's focusing on more modern cloud-based technologies such as blockchain, quantum computing, machine learning, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. So let us know that how are these technology-based tools helping CFOs in making a real impact in the business where they serve?
Very, very simple example around artificial intelligence, right? Processes in the background around machine learning and robotic process automation make finance systems right now a real-time environment, right? In day 3 of any period, the CFO is able to see the period end profit and loss statement and the balance sheet, right? Our own CFOs, whenever they are having sales forecast calls, right, they are very, very polite and smart, our CFOs, right? They let the sales manager explain themselves and talk and tell the whole story, why the numbers are looking like they are looking. And at the end of it, they are presenting those sales managers with our own statistically calculated sales forecast, which is, I would say, around 97, 98% accurate. So what technology does is take out all bias, right? Take out all storytelling, take out all wishful thinking, naivety, opportunistic behavior, whatever you label it, right? It takes out the gut feeling, and it really provides you an outlook of your on your business. This
A
is the
more
simplest.
objective analysis and also increased transparency.
Oh,
Absolutely right.
absolutely, absolutely, and this is only enabled, of course, due to changes in the back end, right? AI is something that everybody is talking about, artificial intelligence, right? And we're painting this picture of these robotics and science fiction movies we're having, and everybody will be without jobs because machines are doing stuff, right? I think this is not truly the case, right? What artificial intelligence does is making routine labor like finance operations, maybe some areas around finance accounting and auditing obsolete, right? But the CFO and the finance department, the business analysts, are the navigator and consultants of this transformation process, and will have the opportunity to really do more value-added tasks in the future, right? There is a lot of impact that we see on the finance function through artificial intelligence, right? So as an example, the role of the CFO will drastically increase in significance through artificial intelligence, right? Because the CFO is uniquely positioned to manage and master all the new insights that are coming out of this, right? Probably if you're a pure accountant or so, right, you might really think about in the future about different other areas of interest, because this is a highly automated process already, but this will be more so even in the future, right? Same with the financial analyst, right? We need to convert them not only into analysts, because there's a lot of automatism coming in the analysis areas, but really convert this into storytelling in a positive sense. I don't mean in a marketing sense, right? But in a positive sense, from a perspective of helping other business functions understand the impact of the analysis, right? Help them to become better in what they are doing, help them to make the right decisions, if you will, right? And there's a whole matrix we have available of the impact of technologies like artificial intelligence and the impact on individual roles, right? A financial controller, as an example, will drastically also increase in significance with artificial intelligence, right? Because they will have, for the first time ever, all the data points at hand they would need in order to also help everybody in the organization make the right decisions in terms of strategic investing, in terms of operating against the strategy, etc. Right? Same with risk managers, right? They will have insights never had before, right? And directly connecting risks to your business outcomes and to mitigation protocols that you're having in place, etc. Right? So there's a lot of roles in the finance department that will increase in significance, and there's also a lot of roles in the finance department that will decrease in significance based on these new technologies that are raining down on us, right?
Interesting insights. Henner, it's an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Thanks a lot once again for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Moazam. You have a wonderful rest of your weekend.